Hello. I'm a little later today because, well, I got hungry and I was going to start like 15 minutes ago, but I needed to eat something, so I was eating some noodles. But today we're going to be making another little animal creature that I came up with. I had in my head an idea of making a snake oil salesman that was an actual snake as a character, and I thought that'd be kind of cool. So I have a bottle here. And this bottle came from an antique, like, spice rack that I found at the Goodwill. It used to have a label, I forget which, I think this one was sage. I'm not sure, it may have been sage. Excuse me. I think it was sage, but I scraped the label off. We're gonna make a separate label for this when we do the painting one. I will have a label ready for this. But yeah, I'm gonna do a little research. I already did a little bit on some classic things that old-fashioned fake remedies used to say. So I'm going to put a label in this bottle, and it's going to be held right here with the tail kind of pointing at whatever label I end up coming up with. So we're going to put that aside for now, but this is the base, foil base that I did. I tried to reinforce the tail a bit with some wire. It's still pretty flimsy, so I may have to prop it up when I bake it to make sure it actually stays up. It's going to be a little shaky here to get the balance correct, but my inspiration here, I'm thinking coral snake just because they're fun and they're brightly colored. And I think it would be fun to do some stuff on the label that references the non-poisonous, what's the word? The non-poisonous king snake, the look-alike that's like the coral snake. So I'm thinking about making that into a thing potentially. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, I'm gonna loosely base this, I think, when I do the colors and stuff on the coral snake, which I've never actually lived far enough south for me to have to worry about those, but I do know they can be pretty dangerous. So we're gonna go ahead and start wrapping our foil base here in clay. Hopefully the fireworks outside don't get too loud, but go ahead and do that. I did pick out these eyes, which are not terribly accurate. The coral snake has very dark, almost black eyes, but I wanted to have some color on them. So I'm just doing loosely based on it. I might change my mind, but I like the idea of doing the coral snake since there's so many harmless lookalikes. And I want to kind of toy with the idea of him seeming harmless but not being so. Although technically, I guess snake oil is more that, they're selling you something that's useless, but if you ever look into a lot of messed up health claims in the past, there's a lot that, they claimed as helpful, but they weren't helpful. They were actually quite the opposite. They were quite harmful. So I'm going to toy with that idea when I do the label on the bottle as well as his design. Yeah, I'm not sure what gave me the idea. I just really liked the idea of having a snake oil salesman that was a snake. I was doing a little reading on the history of the term before I started here, and apparently it became really popular, partially because people used to think that snake oil was like a good, alt health remedy or something crazy. And I think it can be used, most poisons can actually be used for medicinal stuff in a way. But what it usually happened, apparently there was a very popular one. I think, what was the name? Hold on. Clark Stanley. There was a very popular salesman who used to go around selling rattlesnake oil. And I think he promoted it as a liniment, which I believe is like a muscle reliever thing that you rub on your body. But anyway, let me see. I think that's what liniment is. Liniment. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a muscle pain relieving thing, and they would claim it relieved all sorts of stuff. Apparently, when they did an analysis, there were things claiming that it was actually just mineral oil, red pepper, and a few other like herbs that he was selling as rattlesnake oil. But situations like that kind of popularized the term snake oil salesman for scam artists. And I think it's very relevant nowadays because people they don't change very much. There are still a lot of supposed health products that are just straight up snake oil. I know one of them that I read about was those pads they always tell you to like stick on the bottom of your feet or something. I had a few people in my family who used to be into that. And I looked them up one time, and apparently there were people who were doing experiments just to prove that they weren't effective. And they found that most of them are designed to react with moisture or with salt and water, which is like your sweat, to change color due to salt and water, so that people would see them and they would see them like change color and turn like black and be, oh no, they're working, it's doing all this great stuff. And reality is, if you apparently stick a lot of those in salt water, they will change color regardless, even if you use purified salt water. So, yeah, there's a lot of modern snake oil products. It's kind of sad, but people don't change much. That is, I learned that every time I study history and look at modern day stuff, people do not change. They do the same stuff they've been doing all along. All right. Excuse me. There was another scam that I remember researching myself because I thought it was a little odd. There was a fad going around where you would, it came around the heyday of like all the genetic stuff, and which that's legit most of the time if you get a decent company. But it was around that time that they started promoting, the studying of your DNA to determine allergies. And normally you determine that with like allergy panels where they quite literally prick you or touch you with whatever you're potentially allergic to. I forget what that's called, but there was a popularization of this thing where they would send in DNA samples. Usually it was strands of hair, and they claimed they had this special method where they could determine what foods you were sensitive to and so on, and what you should or shouldn't eat. And there was always all the markings, in very fine print that it wasn't, approved or evaluated or whatever by any sort of industry. And I started looking at it because one of my coworkers got into it a while back because it just seemed so sketchy to me when I read about it. And it turned out they had this system. I forget what they called it. It was it was not electrolysis, but it was something along those lines, I believe. And they claimed that if you if you measured the electric impulses of the cells, which living cells do give off electric impulses, that they could use it as a diagnostic tool. And then they had this long paragraph saying, well, the only reason it's not been, accepted into mainstream is because it causes, I forget how they worded it, but it was something along the lines of like variable results, which basically translated to it gives you a different answer every time, and that's why they don't use it in diagnostics, because it doesn't produce a consistent answer. So they started using this as a claim that, if you sent in hair or your pet's hair, they could determine your allergies. And I remember after I saw the electrolysis or I forget what it's called, I need to look at it again, the measurement of electric impulses from your cells thing, it occurred to me that it was very funny that they were sending hair in because you can only measure the impulses from living cells, and hair cells are dead. And even if you pluck like the root of the hair out, like any cell that's going to be alive is going to be dead by the time it arrives at the facility. So, what are they even measuring? And I just remember seeing that and I was just like, that is so messed up. I remember trying to casually suggest, to my coworkers, I didn't want to be rude, but it's like maybe suggesting, don't put too much, emphasis on it. And I think they have a bunch of disclaimers all over everything. There's a bunch of them. But yeah, I think I read someone sent in their own hair twice from the same hair strand or something, and then they sent in their pet's hair and a teddy bear's hair, and the results were crazy. It was very fun to look at. But yeah, there are so many examples of like modern day snake oil stuff. It's kind of sad, really, because I know they tend to go after the people who are desperate for answers that they're not getting and take advantage of them, which is why it kind of bugs me so much. Because that's usually who the people who fall for it the most are, because they often don't have anything else, or they're just, sometimes it's just interest, but a lot of times people are desperate for answers, and if mainstream medicine doesn't have them, they'll go elsewhere, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but they can easily fall prey to a lot of the snake oil type stuff just because they're desperate to try something. But yeah, some of the claims are almost ridiculous. Always, 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 always look up what they're actually saying or what they're actually claiming to study, because sometimes if you read through it for like 10 seconds, you're like, this makes no sense. Like, oh wow, that was loud. I don't know if the mic picked that up, but there's not gunshots, it's fireworks. Because I forgot today was the 4th of July. But yeah, my sister bought me a book about medical quackery throughout the ages. And it was super interesting. There seems to be another consistent trend, which is people always like to think that if you're ill, you just need to somehow purge your body of all the bad things. So 90% of what I read thus far, which I haven't read quite all of it, but I read a lot of it, it always boils down to, well, if you're sick, then you just need to, they would always give people emetics and types of poison that had emetic effects, so you'd just be throwing everything up constantly. And then, even some of the people then sometimes were like, maybe this doesn't make sense. There was always dissenting voices, but it is very interesting to me that so many of them really just boil down to, oh, if you're sick, then you just need to do something like the bloodletting, which was, cleansing your blood in some way, or, all of the emetic type things that were used, like Quicksilver was used and a lot of other stuff. It all boils down to the same concept. Well, if you just throw everything up, apparently, or get rid of all bodily fluids, then you won't be sick anymore. And 90% of the time, they ended up making people more ill than they were before. But again, trends haven't changed. People still are on cleansing crazes where they think that their body's full of toxins and stuff that they have to get rid of, and it's really the same concept. I mean, there's some truth to a degree, if you eat something very poisonous, things like ipecac and stuff are actually potentially useful depending on what it is that you ate. But usually that's like an instance, a scenario where it's like, oh, I accidentally ingested poison and I need to get it out of my body. The idea of illness being caused by built up toxins is a very strange thing. My key for determining whether they're scams or not is just to see if they ever actually define what toxins actually are, because most of the time they don't. They just randomly tell you, oh, there's bad things there. There's bad things. You should get rid of them. And they never actually define what they are. Or they give you some vague definition that makes no sense. But yeah, there's so many modern examples of snake oil stuff. People don't change very much. I'm going to try to make this guy look a little sinister too. I think I want to give him eyebrows that kind of curl upward. I think I maybe also did this just so I could ramble about medical scams, because for some reason this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. Probably just because I've seen so many people get taken in that it really bothers me. Not that they were taken in, but the fact that, people I care about can be taken advantage of. I dislike that very much. Something else you can do typically too to determine whether something's a scam or not, look at how many things it claims to cure, and look at any claims it has on exactly how it manages to cure those things. Because usually the ones that are somewhat legit will have some defining traits and such. They'll have some actual basis for their studies or their reasoning. Whereas a lot of times the scam ones usually will claim all sorts of stuff. And that was the thing with snake oil stuff. They would usually claim it was, good for all sorts of stuff. Or if you look at the old-timey bottles that have like the tonic labels and such, they would claim that it just cures everything. Like it's a magical cure-all. Typically, anything that claims to be a magical cure-all is kind of a scam. There are very few substances that cure everything. They usually help with very specific things, not everything. Other than maybe just like, oh, you should drink water. That does help with a lot. But anytime it's a medicine, typically there aren't tons and tons of things that it can. Some things do have a lot of effects, but generally if they're claiming it cures a whole bunch of very unrelated things, yeah, no, it doesn't. Alright. We're almost done with our base coat here. We just gotta do the end of the tail here. And I have a trick to justify eating any food you like. So if you go online and you type in medical benefits of, and you type in your favorite food, you will find, pretty much guaranteed, you will find an article defending eating basically whatever the heck you like that claims it's like a superfood and amazing. So I do this regularly just to justify things. It's kind of a joke, really, but I do it regularly just to satisfy my own curiosity. But you can literally find an article claiming pretty much any food as a magical superfood. So just type in your favorite and look up the medical benefits of it. I mean, I even did this with chocolate and I think sugar at some point. You will find them. You will find justifications for eating anything that you want to eat. Pretty much. Other than maybe poison. Straight poison, mate, you probably won't find that. But anything else, you probably will find. I think also a lot of snake oil type stuff, it's not that they're always completely, well, the snake oil, yeah, they were dishonestly selling stuff and claiming it was snake oil when it was actually just like mineral oil. But it's not that all of the modern stuff is completely fake. It's often that they over-exaggerate the impact of whatever it is. So, for example, my family got on a kick about garlic. Oh, wow. Loud. And garlic is a natural antibiotic, apparently. However, it's not nearly the strength of, like, concentrated medicines that you would get, or from prescriptions and such. So it's not inaccurate to say that garlic is a natural antibiotic. It is. And it can be used in some things. It's not concentrated enough a lot of times to really make a massive impact. But my family got onto this kick about garlic, and they used to take garlic pills. Don't ever do that. You will smell like garlic, and it's disgusting. Your whole body will just smell like garlic, and it's awful. Everyone will not want to be around you. They used to do that all the time, and then half the family members smelled like garlic, and I was like, this is just weird. Please stop. I don't know that the impact is quite as strong when you eat garlic, but yeah. And then the other thing they got into was cranberry pills, but cranberry does actually help with like UTIs and stuff, but I feel like so many of the supplement things are a bit... If you expect too much from them, they're scammy. They do have legitimate effects, but it's like if you expect them to be a magical cure-all, probably not. They can only do so much. But yeah, the garlic one, don't ever... I love garlic and the taste of garlic. Like, I'd rather enjoy it in my food than have it in some sort of pill form that makes you just permanently smell like garlic. I mean, I guess you ward off vampires. That'd be nice. A vampire repellent, just eat garlic pills. They will not want to touch you. Nobody else will want to touch you as well. I am, getting a new microphone next week. I found a refurbished one. I think it was Blue Yeti, which seems to be the one that a lot of people praise is a very good one. This one's been pretty decent, and I will be going through audio plugins and trying to really do some more with filters and stuff. to improve the audio so that it's better. Gotten better. I've gotten better at it, but I still need work. Like, I hear other people who are professional streamers who know what they're doing, and their audio sounds way better than mine, so I really need to sit down and figure out how to do it properly. So I will be working on that next week when we do the painting. Hopefully I will have a new audio setup. We have lovely firework background noise. It might not pick up. I don't think it's loud enough to pick up. Alright, we almost have his tail done. And I'm thinking with this guy to give him like the classic top hat, because if you look up snake oil salesmen, they almost always have like the top hats and the suits with the little bow ties. But this did raise a fun question, which is, how does a snake wear a suit? He doesn't have any arms. So we're going to figure that out today. How does a snake wear like a vest and a suit top? I'm not sure. I think I'm just going to put it around his upper body here. But I don't know how a snake wears a suit. We're going to make it up as we go. And then that will be the official way that snakes wear suits from here on out. It's kind of like, you know, if horses wore pants, how would they wear? Like it, well, I'm just going to make it like this is his lower legs and this is his upper torso. Since he doesn't really have any distinctions. The fun part about making this a coral snake is that I can make the bottle reference a king snake. So he looks like he's harmless, but he's really not. And then the bottle will act like it's harmless, which is a little different maybe than the original snake oil stuff. But because the king snake is the look-alike, and if I use the term king on the bottle, I get to reference the old snake oil salesman who called himself the rattlesnake king. And I was looking at the labels on the bottles that he had, and it does say, some of them reference him as the, you know, the rattlesnake king. So that would be a fun little throwback reference from what I learned when I looked this up. There's some really scary, alt health stuff that, some of it's legit, obviously. Always look for studies in legitimate things. But there's a couple scary ones that got popular that are pretty, oh wow. Sorry, so many fireworks. I can't do anything about it. There's some pretty, scary ones that were for like cancer related ones. There was one related to skin cancer, and it's it's not completely a lie, like it's partially true. I think it was called black ointment. It was a type of very caustic ointment that would basically burn your skin away. Small amounts weren't that harmful. Or black salve, maybe that's what I think it was called, black salve. And it was used as a treatment, or touted as a treatment for skin cancers. And some of the ointments were like, I think, basically not watered down, but like toned down so that they weren't as effective. And in a very weird way, yes, if it burned your skin away, it would destroy the cancer cells in the skin that it burned away. So I guess it wasn't really lying, but some of the results from people who got like the more caustic ones are pretty terrifying. Because I think somebody actually burned away most of their nose. It was horrifying. I was looking at that. That was one of my random, like, you see something terrifying on the internet and you're like, wow, this is morbidly interesting, so you look it up. But yeah, some of the stuff people were doing with black salve was really terrifying and very sad too, because some of the people ended up having to get like facial skin grafts and stuff. Which, in a weird way, yes, if it does kill your skin, it would kill the cancer skin, but it also will destroy the rest of your skin as well, especially since, you know, I get it because medical treatment's so expensive, but yeah, it's some of that stuff can be a little scary. Before you do anything too strange, always make sure you know what you're doing. I'm gonna have to listen to this later and see how bad the fireworks are. I don't have any headphones on, so I have no idea what it sounds like. I should really set it up so I can hear myself. Alright, we're almost done doing the base coat here. I'll be quiet for a second, see if I can see if it's registering the fireworks. Oh yeah, it's definitely registering the fireworks. Sorry. I cannot do much about it. I feel like fireworks and thunder are the types of things that are very peaceful when they are far away. When they are up close, they are not, remotely. It'll probably only continue for another hour or two, which will be when this video is done. So, I probably should have done this earlier to avoid all the fireworks. Everyone did fireworks yesterday. I was hoping they wouldn't do too many today. Okay, let me see how this is going for this. I don't know why I uncorked it. So we want to do something like this, so that he's going to be holding it, and then we'll curl the tail up like this, so it looks like he's pointing at his label. Whatever that label says, we'll figure out later. Yeah, so it'll sit like that. Perfect. All right, let's continue. I bet they sound like gunshots on the eye. I promise you people are not shooting people outside my house. I do like the distant ones. It's kind of like rain ambiance or thunder ambiance. It's so nice. Just not the ones that are like up close. I'm trying to balance this a little better here. Also, you'll probably notice I redid the thumbnail so that it looks nicer now. Trying to go through and redo some of the thumbnails. My art tablet that I can bring to work with me is dying. So I'm thinking about buying a mini computer so I can use it with the nice one that I have here. Because then I can just take the little tiny mini computer that's like this big with me and then plug my tablet in to use as a screen. That way I don't have to buy another drawing tablet. A more expensive one probably. That's a standalone. I did look at, and also it would let me run some of the animation and rigging programs that I'm interested in. But it's also expensive to get the mini computer, so that may not happen for a bit. But yeah, I tried to go ahead and redraw what I could to improve it, make it look a little more eye-catching and a little easier to see, because I realized I mostly look at thumbnail pictures to determine if I wish to watch a video, and then I look at the words. So I'm trying to put more information in the picture. I can't do that all the time because I don't have the time to do tons of thumbnails, but when I hand draw most of them. But I'm trying, you know. Trying to make it a little more eye-catching, so hopefully that helps people be interested. Mm. It's cutting some of them out, but it's definitely hearing some of them. Those sound like my neighbors, I think. It's a shame. I usually like to sneak outside and watch everybody's fireworks in my yard. It's like free show. I mean, they do have a free show. They had one yesterday. I just didn't go because I was busy sleeping and working and doing stuff. Alright. The other problem that I'm debating with this guy is what to do if I'm going to do a coral snake pattern. He's going to be a bright black, red, yellow. But I don't know what color to make his suit. After we figure out how the snake wears a suit, and what looks right for that, then I have to figure out, like, how... I'm thinking a light blue. White, blue, and then maybe black would probably be the best. Thinking that would work, but I'm a little iffy on it still. I mean, I don't gotta worry about the colors till next week, but I like to have a notion in mind when I'm doing these. Alright, so the bottle. We got the base kind of done here, the base, you can see. Alright. So I want to do spots for the eyes, one here, one here. Part of what I want to do is to make it, oh, that was not enough. It needs to be here. And further up. Okay. So I want to add some ridges here that kind of give him a really expressive face. And yes, he is going to be wearing a lovely top hat. Yeah, I'm trying to make him look a little sinister. So the expression's going to take me a bit. Oops. I keep putting dust and hair in this. Hold on. Yeah. All right, so we're getting more of his expression. Okay. All right. Now let's see if we can add a little bit extra to the top here to make that smile that I'm attempting to do look a little more. Okay. We're getting there with the expression. All right. Okay, and let's do a little extra here. There, he's got a bit of a smile now. We gotta give him some fangs. Alright, now we gotta do his fangs here real quick. And I'll try to smooth some of this out and then add one of my texture rollers here to see if we can give him a scale pattern using one of those. At least a little bit of one. Alright. No, I do think coral snakes don't have visible fangs, do they? So I might have to change my idea. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, most snakes don't actually have visible fangs. Unless they open their mouth. So we could do this a little bit. Could open his mouth. Alright. All right. Let's give him a nice long tongue. Actually, hold on. Let's do this real quick. I hope you can see where we're going with this. Oops, I didn't mean to pull that hard. Didn't mean to do that. If I do this, it is going to be very fragile. Here, let's see if we can reinforce this with a little bit of wire. So we may have to make the tongue a little thicker this way, which I'm not crazy about, but it will at least protect it from breaking as much if I do this. Alright, so we have this so far. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my texture roller here. Yeah, see if we can just get some nice texture patterns. Oops, didn't mean to hit the microphone. Sorry. Hopefully that didn't pick up. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to fashion him a top hat. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure I knew what I was doing with this and how I want it to look. All right. Cut this into a... Hold on. Grab the razors here. All right. All right, we'll do that, and then we'll have column here. A little bigger. Okay. A little more clay. I need to stop getting hair in all of my clay. All right. Working on his little top hat here. give him a little band. Sorry. Sorry about that. All right. Okay, so we now have his top hat. We're gonna keep texture rolling here. Not too much more, sorry, I need to get up here for a second, blow my nose. Not too much more because we will be doing the jacket here in a second. Let me go. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Okay. So now we're going to start with his vest. And then jacket, so like a two-piece suit. Stretch it a little bit here. Make it go all, whoops, don't tear it. Make it go all the way around. All right. All right. And this is just the vest, so we'll be doing a larger piece around it for like the jacket. Okay, let's put a little button here. Sorry, my kitty cat's crying at the door now. May or may not be audible, I don't know. Okay. And then usually there's a little, like the little vest pockets here and a line. We'll do those here real quick. Alright, so now we're going to do another piece here. Let's get one of my bigger pieces. This one. And we're going to cut the jacket out that goes over top. I'm gonna make it a little. Okay, so this is the right width. Now we need to do the collar. That isn't long enough. Let's cut a nice long strip for the collar here. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to hit that. I keep hitting the microphone. Oh, that's the blade. Try not to press my finger into the blade. All right. Okay. That's not good. That's a siren. Actually, adjusting the shape ever so slightly of the jacket here. Just trying to make it work the way I want it to. Okay. All right. Let me pull up a suit jacket here so I can see how the collar turns. Yeah, it's just the issue because we're doing the snake, which is all neck, pretty much. Okay. And we could do a little rope tie between these just to make it look a little less odd, since the jacket would just fall off if it was like this. So we'll do a little rope tie up here. So it's almost like a suit jacket and almost like a cloak. All right, and then I could put like a little flower in the buttonhole of his suit. That might be interesting. Or, what to do, what to do. I'll just hold it like this so you can see what we have so far for our Snakeola salesman. I kind of jam his hat on cockeyed. There we go. All right, let me think. Oh, I guess I know what the problem is here. We need to cut this away a bit. It needs to come down to here, only to here, like so. And then we need to have buttons here. That will make it look more like a jacket proper. And then do the same thing over here. We'll cut away to this point. And then do only buttons on this side. So. There we go. That looks a little clearer. And then again, there's usually a pocket right about here. All right. Okay, I think that looks pretty good for the outfit. I do want to put something in the buttonhole of the jacket, but I don't know what. Oh, I guess we could also give him, oh, we could give him a handkerchief. Yeah. Let's twist his head a little bit. There we go. I like that positioning better. And then this will just be over here. Perfect. All right. Okay. So I'll make a little bit of like a handkerchief in his pocket here. Oops. All right, there we go. We got him a little handkerchief in his pocket. He's got a little shoot. All right, now I'm trying to think of something cool I could put inside of. Or something cool I could put on his hat that would also fit the snake oil theme. Nothing's currently coming to mind. Um, Let me think. Guess I could go ahead and texture roll a lot of this and smooth out some of the joins that we have between the pieces that we put together. Okay. All right. So we did the texturing a bit. We smoothed out some of the joins with the clay. This is what we have so far. So now final details. Let me think. What's that classic? I'm trying to think if there's a classic medicinal or poisonous thing that I could use. I know. You could have a little sprig of belladonna. So let me see. Those leaves are just like this. Little leaf. Attach it there, and then we'll do a little blackberry. And a little sprig here looking like it's coming out of the... All right. Alright, so we have a little sprig of belladonna coming out of his little buttonhole on his jacket. He's got a handkerchief. Now, is there anything I want to do on the hat? Now, let me think. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, I think we might be done. I think this might be what I want him to look like. Alright, hold this gently. So this is what we have. Our snake oil salesman. He's got a little jacket. He's got a sprig of belladonna and a little, whatchamacallit, handkerchief in his pocket. He's got the hat. You can see him from this side as well. We're going to do a cool label for this bottle, so it'll look kind of like he's pointing at the label while holding it. But I think this is done for now. I may add something to the hat. We'll see. If I do, we'll talk about it in the next week in the next video. But for now, I do think that we are done with our snake oil salesman. I think he's think he's pretty cool. I like him. Alright, if you watch this video, I greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to do a live video every week and then edited videos like every other week, every 3 weeks, something like that. Doesn't always happen because I do work a lot, and I get very tired. But if you watch this, I greatly appreciate it. Please let me know. I do take suggestions. I take, anything within reason. I love doing mythological sculptures. I've been doing some fan art stuff. But yeah, I'd be happy to see suggestions or things you'd like to see me sculpt or ideas and stuff you have. Um, and if you watched all this, I do appreciate it quite a bit. For now, I will probably be taking a nap here a little bit, but hopefully you have a good night, and I greatly appreciate any views or comments. Thank you so much.